Oh, Willow. It's Toast Easter!
Success!
Who knows? Who knows what it is today? Who knows? Woo! Hey!
Prelude to success sauce!
Yeah, we are off the rails today. For behind the scenes, we've had a producer, someone to help the show. No producing today, so we have no, Mike would say, guardrails for the show. So it's Mike and I freestyling. So I have access to all these bells and whistles and claps. I have access to too many things, so we'll see what happens today. Hey, welcome to the show. Formerly Govcast, Success Sauce, Who Knows? Jack Sani, great to be with you. Your host,
Coach Mike, glad to be here.
Yes. If you've been following the show, we have been doing a series on the traits of success, how to be successful, and what helps folks get there. And so we'll continue that today, talking about self-awareness. And so that will be the topic of today. And so hopefully we'll dive in. And I love this topic because I think it's the thing people don't talk about and is the Achilles heel, and people don't know why didn't I get promoted and why I'm not having successful. So super, super, super excited about today's show. If you have any questions, comments, put them in below, and we will get to them throughout the show. And then, as always, as I've mentioned, we're so blessed this year to be sponsored. So we have a sponsor this year, which is amazing. So I.Help is a sponsor of the Success Sauce show. So appreciate that. If you're unaware of I.Help, I have no idea where you've been living, under a rock, but it literally is the platform of the future for folks in this new kind of work from home virtual world. We think we're done with COVID. Now it's back. And so you can see on your screen all the things that I.Help offers and kind of aggregates. So we used to do all this at a trade show or some other thing, but now it all happens kind of virtually, where when you try to connect with somebody, you got to sell them your web conference link and your website and maybe some of your social media links and what's your online schedule. Now imagine all that's in one spot, and that's what I.Help does for you. It integrates with whatever your web conferencing system is, whatever your online scheduling stuff is, however you do your social media. It will aggregate all of those connections in one spot. Amazing, amazing. You see all the things on your screen. $5 a month. Cannot promote and recommend I.Help enough.
You know, Jack, I was reading a book or listening to a book by Brian Tracy, it's Eat the Frog. And I love that book. But what's one of the really cool things that every time I listen to it, I pick up a little something extra. And one was really prepare your workspace to be productive and effective so that you get more time to enjoy life outside of work, right? Because the more you have to look for something, the more you have to delay, the more you have to just figure out where stuff is. It's time wasted, and it's time that could have been work that would have actually lent itself to more free time later. And so I was thinking about I.Help. That's my virtual workspace, right? And so if my virtual workspace is cluttered, I can't find things, I can't share things, I'm less productive. Yeah. So here's your opportunity to take the clutter out of your social life, literally your virtual world, which we all live in one now. We all have a virtual world. Yeah. And so because of that, this is how we can live in that productive, effective, clutter-free virtual world. And so I think I.Help really does help get that done.
I'll let them know. Look, I'm going to go have them watch the show. I'll be like, oh, you just did an online testimonial for free. That's totally true. Listen, I.Help platform, literally on the bottom of your email, you put connect with me, and all your stuff, all your social media, all websites, everywhere somebody connects with you, whatever web conferencing system you're using, can all connect I.Help, $5 a month. Listen, $60 for the year. Go do it. It's done. You can connect on their platform. It can connect to any URL, or you can buy as part of the service, make it, I.Help/Jack, or Jack is the one, or Jack Sani, whatever you want to do. So if you want to take Jack Sani, go ahead. I stole Jack. So encourage you to go get I.Help. It will be the thing of the future. And then you'll be like, I heard about that. Where's that GovCast? So, all right. So appreciate I.Help for sponsoring the show very, very much. And before we get into self-awareness, I got to hear, Mike, Easter in-laws, family, everyone? How did it play out? 20-some folks at the palatial estate. How did that end?
Well, it was great. Nothing went perfect, and it was we were supposed to everybody was supposed to be here at 2:30. I think maybe 3 of the 18 people were here at 2:30. 3 o'clock was supposed to be breaking bread. I think the bread was in the toaster around 3:15. I think about 3:30 we broke bread. We had some plans, some pregame, some pre-eating. Like my wife Angel did this great idea of every couple got a fancy egg, and inside the fancy egg was a verse that was something that Jesus said leading up to Easter. And she put it in order. Somebody was a 1 and a 2 and a 3, and everybody read their verse, and then we prayed, and it was great. We thought we were going to do communion. It just heretically some did not happen. It was just in the chaos. Angel, 4 hours after dinner was like, we forgot to do communion. Yes, we did. And but then we had interestingly, the food was served. There were 3 tables that were sort of separate. They were independent of each other. So we didn't really eat together, but as you went to get more food, you had to pass all the other tables. So it took a long time to get to your food and get back because you stopped and you talked. It was like working a wedding almost. It was.
That's what I was thinking.
There's a lot going on, but it was we joked last week that the over-under on stressful tension moments was like 8, but I think we've hit about 3 maybe. And the funniest thing was my daughter, who she's navigating in-laws. She had to go to one in-law first. We were second on the hit list of moving around. She's got my grandkids have 4 sets of grandkids because of split and separate and all that kind of crazy stuff. But she texted me at 3 o'clock, says, I think we'll be here at 3:30. At 3:30, I said, ETA? I got nothing. I said, okay, let's eat. She's so messed up. She's not responding. Like, let's eat. And then around 4, about 5 minutes to 4, she said, go ahead and eat without us. Like we were on dessert, like it was kind of cute, funny, and she laughed with me later, but what a great day. All kinds of family, cousins, in-laws, in-laws. We were stretching, the tree was stretching wide and far on Easter, but it worked out really great. And the house, we went to bed. This is kudos to my wife. We went to bed on Sunday night with a clean house, mop floor, dishes done, 2 loads of dishes. It was, and because our kids have kids, they can't really stick around and help. You know what I mean? Like they're gonna, hey, it's bedtime, and so it was just Angel and me just hustling around the house. But
your job is parents. That's it.
Worked out great, and I was super. I took the under, and I won big. So under on the stressful moments.
Well, happy Easter! You got through 2022s in the books.
Yeah, tell me about your Easter, Jack. Tell me about the stressful. Was there a line at brunch?
Oh, yeah, I went to the restaurant. We sat down, ate on the waterfront. My wife and I, and bailed. So it was great. So we in and out. So sometimes less is more, and great. We had 2 Friday night, Saturday nights. My wife and I went out, or Saturday night, Sunday. So it was great. So much less logistics. Family too far, so it was all good.
What was that fella's name that did all the sand sculptures? People should Google that.
Oh, Randy Hoffman. Randy Hoffman. Yeah, I'm down in Ocean City, Maryland. Randy Hoffman, amazing. If you've not seen, just put Ocean City Jesus sculptures or sand sculptures. It'll come up. Amazing. This guy in Ocean City. So what Mike's talking about. So we went to sunrise service in Ocean City, Maryland, and as part of that, we run into the guy. So he starts every year on Easter weekend. And down on the boardwalk, Ocean City, Maryland has a boardwalk, about 30 streets. He puts a sand sculpture together. It is the most intricate, always very biblical. So he's reaching out, and it gets to be like 20 yards long, he said, by the end of the summer, because he adds to it and changes it. The first mound of sand, it was just Jesus's face, and kind of on Resurrection Day, and amazing, very intricate. Talking to him, it's amazing. Go look it up. Ocean City sand sculptures. It's incredible. At night, he puts lights on it. So we're talking to him. He has a big jug there. It's funny you brought this up, but I was like, "How do you make that stick?" I didn't ask him, but he said it in passing. He's Elmer's glue, so he glues it. When he's done, he has a sprayer full of glue, and that's what makes it stay. Isn't that crazy?
Oh, that's cool.
little tidbit.
Everybody wonders how they make the sand stick.
Nice.
If you either know or you wonder, but everybody wonders, right?
We'll do the Last Supper, like everybody's sitting there. It's so intricate. Go look at it. It's amazing. At Randy Hoffman is. I had a chance
That was
to
cool.
got a picture. Super cool. Amazing. What he's done that for 40 years. 40 years. Amazing. And they were doing kind of a biblical Jesus carrying the cross up the boardwalk. Amazing. That was an amazing weekend. So those were my much less stressful, kind of participating in some of the holiday virality. And so I put on my LinkedIn as well, both Passover, so for the Jewish faith, and Ramadan, I think, so a lot of things going on this past weekend from a faith perspective. So I hope folks had an enjoyable weekend, feel refreshed, recharged. We are now in the middle of spring, ready to go. And so then the question is, are you self-aware to know what's happening? So that's what we'll jump into. So here it is. We go to Google, self-awareness, conscious knowledge of one's own character, feelings, motives, and desires. So that's right off the Google machine, which is fair. We're talking about words or traits that make you successful. So it's fair. I mean, can't beat the Google machine. You're not gonna, you can't fight City Hall. But I love, if you saw my LinkedIn, this I loved better. It's the ability to take an honest look at your life without attachment to being right or wrong. So I love that because this, first of all, we'll talk about, I guess, what self-awareness is, because as Mike and I were talking before the show, I think it is the thing that keeps people from achieving their life goals. And so, Mike, when you think about self-awareness, what comes to mind?
Blind spots. The as you were talking about it, like
lack of self-awareness.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm completely self-aware except for my blind spots. Well, what are your blind spots? Well, I'm still blind to them. I don't have any idea. Somebody has to help me realize my blind spots, or else, you know what I mean? It's like the emperor with no clothes. I mean, there's so many stories about you're not completely honest with yourself, or you're missing something. You're whatever that is. And so, and blind spots are blind spots until they're not. And so you can't have a pseudo blind spot. Either you're blind to it or you're aware of it. But I think that's one of the things we need to do as far as self-assessment to become more self-aware. Ask some other folks, hey, this is how I see myself. How am I lining up with what you see?
Yeah.
And,
No, good.
No, it's just, yeah. So I think that, our friends are the ones that are going to help us see those blind spots, and they're going to laugh at us because we had no clue. But it's super important, right? That we get the complete picture of who we are really.
Yeah, it's funny. So many things we talk about for the last 2 months about having success. I think a cynical, someone who's not self-aware goes, of course, these are so basic. I have those. I got charisma, I'm persuasive, what have you. I have perseverance. And the reality is, it's not true. It's just not true. We really do struggle with trying to self-analyze. And it is, I think you're right. It can be people around you, your friends. Or if we're not so sensitive, it can actually be bad moments we've had. Maybe the folks aren't our biggest fans because they're more either happy or aggressive to tell you, right? They're like, oh, do you know you're this way? You know what I mean? And so if we're able to hear that and internalize it, probably not in the moment, but afterwards, because that happens to me sometimes, right? People say something just like everyone else. I don't necessarily doesn't land well. But the ones that stick are the ones that kind of sit in your stomach, 3 days later, you're like, huh. And those probably has some truth to it. And then the question is, can we chew on it, right? Can we chew on it, own it, and do we want to work on it? Because sometimes we do and sometimes we don't. But being self-aware, I always say, for me, I grew up in Maryland. So as all the folks from the Northeast, the heavy Northeast, the New York, Boston type thing, if they're overly aggressive, I don't mind that necessarily. I just don't like it when they're not self-aware. If somebody's a very New York, whatever you think a classic New Yorker is, and they got it and they have that shtick down and, but they kind of have a little chuckle to them. We're like, yeah, that's just the way I am. Kind of in your face, tell you how it is, ... Like if they know that's how it is, it's all good. But it's when the person's self-unaware, maybe they're overly aggressive or whatever you think your classic New Yorker is. And then when you try to tell them, they're like, I'm not like that. I'm not like that at all. That's where it gets choppy for me.
Yeah. But, it's interesting that as you were talking about being aware of your weaknesses, I think it's also debilitating when you don't buy into your strengths. When I think you need to you have to receive, when you hear somebody gives you the same compliment over your life,
That's
100,000, thousands of times, and you're still going, ah, shucks, not me. And you're believing that inside. It's so important that if enough people tell you that's what they see in you, it's in you. You got to own that, because you don't want to spend your life working on your weaknesses. You really want to spend your life accentuating your strengths, because that's what you were made for. And so if you don't receive your strengths, you're going to miss. And it is so cool when somebody speaks into you and you're like, you know what? I'm tired of fighting it. I'm going to own that. I'm going to take it. I'm going to receive that. And I'm just going to build on that. I'm going to make that the foundational building block of who I'm going to be. It's very important.
Yeah, I think, there's two parts of that. I think one is being able to acknowledge, like you just said, kind of, we're making a big decision. We're like, do's or don'ts, or things I like, I don't. I think we should be able to do that personally. It's just like a mission statement, a personal mission statement. Being able to look at yourself and doing a self-assessment, right? Hey, what are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? Honestly, self-assessing those and asking others to validate that. And just, as you said, things you're great at, accentuate those, find jobs, find tasks that do those. And then the things you're not, either staying away from them or deciding, hey, I'm going to work on that. I think that's critical. So that's one, being able to self-assess pros and cons. And then there are some, if you're unaware or not sure, there's a set of tests out there that'll help you kind of self-assess when you're younger, your strengths, what are careers maybe that are more in your aptitudes, what are your personality traits. Like there are, Myers-Briggs folks are familiar with. It's like there are some things, some scientific tools or tests or assessments out there that can help you figure out, hey, what are the things that are more intuitive to you that have some statistical viability to them. And so those are two places to start, I would suggest, for folks to kind of make sure it's real about what either you think or what other people are saying about you, and does that hold true? And then again, I love the things you're great at. Go focus on those, right? Those could be great things.
The other thing is that if we're not aware of what our strengths are, and if we got these blind spots, we start trying to become what's that word? Maybe self-sufficient or independent, like completely independent. And it's such a weird word, because we're interdependent. We were born interdependent. We live interdependent. Nobody is a master of everything, and you don't want to be a jack of all trades, because it says master of none. Yeah. And when you have strengths, that's where your mastery is, in there somewhere. Yeah. I heard a pastor about, I don't know, maybe a few weeks ago, but it was so cool because he said there's 300,000 faith leaders in America. Different faiths, whatever, but 300,000 faith leaders. He says, if I aspire to be in the top 10% of that, that's a long road to hoe. That means I got to beat out 270,000 faith leaders. He's like, that's a pretty tough road. He said, but I was 50 when I decided to enter the ministry. I was a businessman until then, a successful businessman. Yeah. And he said, now a spiritual leader that understands how business works and how to be successful in business, I'm standing here right now. I'm already in the top 10%. Like I just know I am, and I'm going to work on that. I'm going to work on that as my strength, because I know what my strengths are from the way I was born, the way I was raised, and just what I have and what my experiences. Yeah. Right. Like you and I have had some incredible experiences. They were after college, right? Some of them were in college, but a lot of them were after college. And that's what some of those experiences were the most formative of the professionals that we are now.
Yeah, definitely. When you talk about that, love this visual of we see maybe if we're younger or when we're in a place where we're struggling, we see ourselves as maybe we are what is that, a kitten, and then, in us is the lion part of it. It's being able to see what the potential is can be so powerful, because sometimes we only see the worst. And if others, as you mentioned, can see the best in us, or if we see the best in us, then we can ramp that up and kind of go do great things, which is amazing.
It's interesting. They used to say that if you want to be a vice president, you got to dress like a vice president, no matter what your role is now. And it's interesting that the kitty cat, right, the little kitten, is not that lion yet, right? So you kind of have to know that I'm not the lion today. I got to know that, because I got to know what I got to work on to become the lion. but it's also healthy to see the lion, right? There's a balance in there
Yeah.
that don't negate the lion that's in me, right?
Yeah.
Just like, that is me. That's the me
Yeah.
I'm going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm working on it. We always say we're a work in progress. Well, that's where my progress is going to lead to.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say one of the things I had on my LinkedIn this week, which is crazy. The reason I love this topic is I really believe this lack of self-awareness is, I put in my LinkedIn, the number one deadly success killer. It literally is when people are unaware of traits of certain things about themselves, it can really keep them from getting to the next level. It's the most unspoken thing. It's like when you go on a job interview, you don't get hired, or people can put some stereotypes about society, whether it's either racism or sexism or whatever, all the terms we've heard a lot about the last couple of years, right? People can put there's truth to that. I don't want to negate that.
Yeah.
A lot of times when it comes down, if it's not those, if they're not some ill-willed thing at play, the reason somebody doesn't get a job or doesn't get hired or doesn't get promoted or doesn't get the loan or doesn't get the funding, it's all these little nuances in their ability to not be self-aware. Maybe it's just some tick they have. Maybe it's something in their verbiage. Could be something in their mannerisms, how they sit, how they interrupt, how they communicate. There's so many little things. This is the ability to not be self-aware is the thing that costs so many people the true success they're achieving, because people go down the list, right? They'll go, I got this and I got the degree and I have the experience and I just didn't get hired. Like there's in sports, it happens all the time. Some of the coaches never get to be a head coach or whatever. It literally is this thing. It's all these little details that folks are unaware of that keep them from getting to the next level. It literally is a success killer.
It's amazing. And then I was thinking about, there's a lot in that, but when you talk about getting from college to where you designed where I want to be when I retire, like where do I want to be when I'm in 50 years? What do I want to have accomplished? What's really interesting is there's a book by Malcolm Goldsmith, and he's like one of the founding executive coaches. Like he's the guru, the coach. He's the coach's coach, and so he wrote a book called "What Got You Here Won't Get You There."
Yes, I have that. I have it.
And what's really cool about that is to kind of add on to that is that some of the skills that got you here need to be unlearned because they're gonna be negative towards what you're trying to get to next, right? There, like if you were a really strong manager, watching the details, keeping your eye on the details of the day, well, there's a point in growth in a corporation where that's no longer a value.
Amen.
That's actually a hindrance. You're too micro, you can't see the macro, and now you've got to. But boss, this is what got me here, right? Yeah. But it got you here, but you've got some things you've got to unlearn and replace to get there.
Yeah.
And so that's part of your self-awareness as well. That I'm looking around and I go, these guys the women and men at this level don't seem to have the skills that I was so proud of at that level. Yeah. And the first assumption is they're doing something wrong because I'm always doing it right. And so you got to undo that and go, wait, there's something is different here. I need to be aware. I need to be aware that it's what's great. What's crazy about this is we started out talking about knowing your strengths, working to them, and knowing your weaknesses. But there are some strengths that got you to good that are going to hurt you on your road to great.
Yeah.
And you've got to figure out what they are. This is like the hardest self-awareness, right? Because it's my strengths being undone a little bit. Some of your strengths your character is going to carry you all the way through. A good character will carry you all the way through. Modesty, humility, if it's real, will carry you all the way through. Those things will never have to change. But it's the little intricacies of macro versus micro, day-to-day versus 10-year plan that may have to be undone a little bit.
Yeah, I read that book. That book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There, is a great book. Highly recommend that, especially if you had some success in your career already and you're kind of looking to get to the next level. Very, very thought-provoking. Love that book. And what's interesting too, I would just say, I say this to people all the time. If you're in a good organization, just look around, because what Mike just said, the people that have had success or are having success, it's like owning a franchise. They've already figured it out. Like you don't have 9 out of 10 times, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. It's already been done. And are you, aware enough, being able to analyze? And you can't be someone else. We all know that. You can't be a replica, but you can take a little something from Susan, a little something from Tom, a little something from Mary, and make it your own. And they're having success. Rarely, only in the cutting edge, true entrepreneurial, cutting edge type stuff, do you have to like go make it up. Most people are in either mature organizations or mature industries or in a mature profession where a lot of the answers are already out there. And it's like, you don't have to, hey, the stove is hot. You don't have to go touch the stove. It's already been done. Hey, find people that have had success and then pick from them. And if you're really blessed, find a mentor that's already been down the road that you exactly where you want to go and let them pull you down the road so you don't have to touch the stove. You don't have to act like a knucklehead in a meeting. You're like, I didn't know that. What got you here won't get you there, right? It is different. Or if you have a great mentor, they'll be able to say, hey, that thing you're doing is not great, not a great use of your time. Or maybe you love it, but doesn't land well in this industry or in this part of the country or wherever. There's so many. Again, I just want to reiterate, it's the small details. It's the small subtleties that really differentiate. It's not the big things. When two people are interviewing for a great job, they're typically really close already, right? They're really close already. It's a bunch of small little things that this person does that gets them hired. They're just small details that someone's already probably spoken into their life and said, hey, when you interview, don't do this. Or, hey, this is an issue. Probably want to avoid this. Or, hey, make sure you accentuate that the other person just didn't have the chance to be self-aware about, right?
It's interesting. And it's also self-aware and being aware also of what advantages do you have that you're not taking advantage of. Like when you said going into a bit where I'm head to head, I'm down final two. If you're in the final two, of course you think you're getting the job, right? You made it all the way through. Of course you're the guy getting the job, but one of you is not.
Yep.
And so in that mix, did you look into LinkedIn to see if you know anybody that works at that company now, right? Did you go to school with that? I mean, LinkedIn says, let me show you all the ways that you have some relationship to somebody in this company. Did you leverage that to say, hey, I went to UM just like you did. You're working there 5 years now. I'm thinking about joining the team. If you could give me any insight about, accelerating my jump into your culture, what would it be? Hey, is there anything that you know now that you wish you knew when you were interviewing that you thought would have made you even a better, any tips for me? I want to win this. And so one guy says, hey, I did all that. And the other person's going in the bag. Nobody beats me.
That's it.
They're going to lose, right? Yeah. They're going to lose. Preparation's going to.
Right? Well, maybe not, maybe don't, but it'll take longer, right? Because on the fifth time they'll get hired. Look, I need, some people love that. We've both met people hard-headed. I don't need help. I got it. Like some people just love the hard way. And like all things in life, there is a fast track that you do not have to initially go the hard road. Most things have already been solved, but you can try it. If you want to start over, you can, but somebody's already been down the road and has all the little shortcuts. You know what I mean? So,
and what you think about, Jack, is that it's really the road to self-awareness.
Yeah.
Right. Am I going to take the long road to self-awareness where it's just going to be the school of hard knocks? Because in the school of hard knocks, the self-awareness class is lumps on your head, right? The accelerated class, the what do they call that? The executive level, the executive track for the school of hard knocks is when you learn from other people's experiences, right? You become self-aware because other people got their heads knocked in.
We did this.
That's the cheapest education.
Right, we did that in college, right? When you got the cliff notes and somebody already did it, and like all the workarounds. And then it's so weird. We leave college, and two things. A lot of people stop learning. They give you here's your classes, here's your schedule. And once we leave formal school, we think, oh, there's no test, there's no thing, so I'm gonna easy road it. So that's a quick little sidebar to keep making sure you're learning and getting educated because school forces that. But if you're not disciplined enough to keep doing it on your own, you're going to get left behind. But also learn from what we all did in high school and college, particularly college. College has a lot of workarounds now, especially with the internet now. What professors have to do to make sure folks aren't plagiarizing. It's crazy, right? So there's a lot of workarounds. And some of that is ill will, right? And some of that's being like, yeah, I don't have time. I don't want to read this thing by Aristotle. I don't, and I'm not gonna. And so at least let me get the Cliff Notes version so I can at least say I breezed through it, right? So all those little, that applies to all things in life. And as you try to get self-aware, there's a lot of tips and tricks and tools and mentors and tests and assessments to help you take that in. Or you can have it play out in your biggest meeting ever where you say the wrong thing at the wrong time, an idea that's already been done, and you go home and you feel like a knucklehead. And that's Cookie Mongus.
But you know what's interesting? I was just thinking about school versus real world, that you've got to get the right answer on your own in school. The right answer is available to all of us on 99% of what we learn in school at a click. It's 2 clicks away, everything. It's, do you know what to do? Like, really, information is no longer valuable.
Yeah.
It's, what do you do? What can you do with the information? How can you figure out what's important? And I bring that back to self-awareness, is that I could focus on so many things about me to work on or not work on or ignore or build on. But unless I figure out what are the things in me that are going to really drive towards what I want, that's where I need to be working.
Yeah.
I don't need to be fixing everything about me. There's too much broken, right? But I need to work on what are the things that are going to drive the bus towards success? What's the fuel, right? What's the engine? Where's that at? There's probably 2 or 3 things that I do every day that align with that.
Yeah.
You figure out be self-aware enough to know, where is your powerhouse, right? Where's my wife says power hour. It's really important. Like, what time of day is your best part of the day? The books all say 6 to 8. Could be PM for somebody, right? It doesn't necessarily, the books are all about AM, but some folks don't even start. The brain doesn't even get, the fog falls around noon. Listen, that's probably not going to change. Work in your power hour. Find it, like Jack was saying before, find the job that lines up with your power hours, that's me at 10:30 p.m. Done. But find those strengths, find the 3 things that really make you your specials. What makes you special? What do people notice about you? Those 3 things are the things that are going to either fuel your career, or you worked on something else and your career only got as high. It never got near to as high or as accomplished as it could have.
Yeah. And no one's going to tell you. That's the thing. The thing about self-awareness, and not to beat this stuff, most people aren't going to tell you. You really need, if you got to have some thick skin, to surround yourself with some brutally honest people so they can share that with you, or you probably don't get to where you want to be, and you're never going to know why. Like, we all have a friend or two that's like, I wonder why is that happening? Why did I get fired for the 3rd time? Why am I not making what I should? Why, my 3rd marriage? And you're like, right? And it takes some, as someone who speaks into someone's life, it takes some courage to also be like, can I just share this with you? Because there'll be some blowback. But just, it is this silent thing that affects people. And then Mike is our, as you know, big reader, and Mike gives me this as a meme to throw up. Graphic note, Socrates. I mean, I was like, oh, I'm way out of so I'm throwing this to you, Mike. You go through the know thyself.
Well, so what's really interesting is that, first of all, Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, we know that is not Socrates, that is Socrates. And so Socrates said, know thyself, right? And so it is so important that it's so interesting. It hits me when I'm judging somebody else, right? When I'm thinking about somebody else's weaknesses, or I'm wondering about what they're doing wrong, I am always reminded or inspired to realize Mike in the mirror, right? As opposed to somebody else, what Mike sees in someone else. And the Bible talks about, don't worry about the speck in your brother's eye or your sister's eye. Take care of the plank, right? There's a speck and you see a speck in there. There's a giant board in your eye. And so I call it plank and mirror, right? I'm reminded all the time. I've gotten it down so simple. It's just plank and mirror. Right? That I'm thinking about what somebody else is doing wrong, or I want to fix somebody else, or somebody else needs to do that better. I get a dose of plank and mirror, that there's a plank in my eye and I got to go get a mirror.
You're pointing,
right?
And fingers are pointing back. Yep.
That's right. Yeah. I got you got 1 finger pointing at them and 3 pointing at you. And so plank and mirror is so healthy, because realize that you have some weaknesses that need to be addressed.
Yeah.
And then go look in the mirror and say, hey, and here's the coolest thing. When somebody's bugging me, I could try to fix them. It might take me the next 15 years. Somebody's bugging me and I decided to change my perspective on that person. It's already changed. It's already better, right? My perspective and my attitudes are the quickest way to fix a situation, to fix a relationship, to fix a conflict. And so, you know, one of the things about self-awareness is, how much of this can I own? Because too many times we go, well, part of this is mine, right? Which might be 30%. But that's when you're in avoidance mode. I'm in defense mode when I'm trying to figure out the minimum amount I own. But if I'm in really leadership mode, I'm going to say, how much of this can I own? And I'm going to say, I'm jumping all the way into that. And I'm reminded of what Abraham Lincoln said. It's such a cool quote because he says, I don't really like that fella. I'm going to have to get to know him better. Right. I just love that. Like, I don't see, in a way, he's kind of saying, I don't see the good in him yet. I'm going to have to spend some more time. But I love that perspective. And I want to adapt that perspective into my life and I hope other people are inspired to do that as well, that Abraham Lincoln has a pretty good reputation, right, for what he was able to do through many, many defeats, right? Yeah. He only won one election in his whole life. It's the craziest thing. He ran for like 9 offices, starting out in the county level. And
book reading right here. This is all my
yeah, I know. Well, but it is amazing but he stuck with it. He's like, I feel like there's something in me that needs to be shared. And he stuck with it, and nobody believed him until they finally said he was Mr. President. And it's just so neat that he was that self-aware when yeah. Basically you say the electorate was not for many, many years. That we need to be our own fans sometimes. And the other thing I think that's really cool is that within our self-awareness, who are the people that make us better? Who are the people in our circles that make us better?
I think it's critical when folks think about this, because I don't think anybody who's really trying to get there would be like, no, I don't want to do it. But, you know, my last thing on this topic would be, it's like when anytime you're trying to do some personal development, you have to like prepare yourself beforehand, because people are like, yeah, I want to go figure out my self-awareness. I'm going to ask some people. But look, just encourage folks before you go down this road, like, just steel yourself, because you're going to hear some things that were going to shock you if you're doing it right. And you're not going to like it. And so before you head down this road, just want to encourage folks, please, please, please spend a week, a month, whatever you need to do. Sit, you know, what is it? Feng shui, whatever you have to do, get centered, right? And then go try to do this in a way that's very neutral and you can hear it, which is where we started, right? Which is this post, hey, you know, without any attachment to right or wrong, right? And without the judgment to it, because we put judgments to it. It's like the beginning of the Stephen Covey book. If we put on our glasses, right, and we judge situations, we judge people, and maybe the glasses are the wrong glasses, right? And so just encourage folks, as you think about maybe becoming more self-aware, taking an assessment, asking your friends to speak into your life, you know, before you go down any of those roads, just get yourself ready so you hear it in a way that's productive, because that's all we're trying to do, right? Because you'd rather learn, private, you'd rather have these private kind of struggles than do it in public. We've all seen the public failures, and they're not good. We talk about the Oscars. It's like, you know, that's super public, you know, and you'd rather do it privately. So on this topic, my last thing would be like, hey, just steel yourself, get ready, prepare, and then go down this road. There'll be nothing probably you'll do in the success world. You can learn some skills, but the ability to ask folks, get feedback, get a good mentor that's brutally honest with you can be the game changer in your life, because then you can dodge and weave things versus kind of always getting pelted with the bullets as they come. So that's would be my last thing. Any last item, Michael, you'd want to add on self-awareness?
Well, you know, Jack, I love that idea that what you were saying about making sure that the self-assessment, the self-awareness that you develop is accurate. Yeah. Right. You can't let your emotions if you allow it to become emotional and you own the comments and it affects you, you're going to get a foggy, inaccurate assessment, and it's not going to help you. Yeah. But if it's accurate and crystal clear because you didn't defend yourself, you actually, instead of saying, well, let me tell you why that's not completely true, instead of saying, well, that's interesting, what else do you see what else is there anything else you see in addition, right? What else would you think drive that dig deeper instead of trying to keep, tell them to put the shovel down, like dig deeper and get as accurate as you can, because we all know this. Accurate information we can be effective with. Inaccurate information is the death knell.
I love this.
And,
without being right or wrong, right?
Right.
And love this too. Love your point, Mike. See the lion in there. But we always focus a lot of time, not always, but too much on our negatives, and seeing the lions in there. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I would just say wherever you're at, whatever your point A is, always remember that your point B, no matter how high it is, if you're not there today, you're not there yet. Just not yet.
All life planning. We started the year on goals. It's like start. What is it? Start. I'm trying to figure out where are you today, right? What you want to be, right? And if you can get those two, normally the line to connect them can be pretty straight. It's like people don't want to do both those. I don't want to self-assess, and I'm not sure I want to be. That's when people meander and they get lost in midlife crisis, sudden divorce, craziness, because they're unable to do start. Where are you today? Self-aware. Where do you want to be? Draw the lines. Much, much easier, right? Cool.
And I think, you said all those things, Jack. You just have to think, am I the person somebody would stroke $1 million check on based upon my word? Like, that's all we're talking about. We're talking about becoming somebody.
All we're talking about $1 million.
No, not $1 million. Being the person somebody would stroke that check to on trust. Everything we talked about goes into being that person. It has nothing to do with the amount of the money, except that brings weight. Because brings weight to the situation.
Right. Those people are looking for authentic people. And that's what self-aware is, like, just owning. We all know, we've all been around a cheesy sales rep. We can tell they're fake. They're just reading some line, And so this being self-aware, you come across authentic, and then people will buy in. They'll be like, ooh, I don't always agree with Billy or Mike or Susan, but listen, they just say it as it is. It's good. I trust their word. I tell me when it's good. They tell me when it's bad. That's being self-aware. That's how you get the $1 million check. That's when people put you in charge of things because they know they don't have to, read through some BS, something, you know what I mean? So that's the part that Mike's really talking about. It's like being authentic, being self-aware. That's, people love that. They sense it. We all sense it. When you're getting snowed by somebody just turn on Fox and CNN tonight and listen to all the politicians from 8 to 9. You'll sense it.
No.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't waste that hour of your life. Hey, want to remind folks, again, we're sponsored by i.help. Cannot recommend. Go to i.help. Get your i.help account.
Declutter your virtual world.
Yes. So listen, cannot find a better service today. It is going to be the game changer. Go get yourself an i.help account and spend $5 a month. Amazing. $60 for the year. Go do your thing. Good. Anything else, Michael? Anything else you're going to wrap the show? You got something you want to share with the people that would be memorable for the rest of their week?
The most important person to be honest with in the whole universe is yourself.
Woo! Who could add anything to that?